Oh yeah, you're my strongest
Yeah,
Verso defender. I just steal
I
half your
am.
arguments for stream and pass them off as my own. So
I am your
What?
strongest Versa defender. I just wanted to talk about someone who is not retarded, if I'm honest, because the people's takes just annoy the fuck out of me, like
yeah,
from both ends. Because you have like people who are super like absolutely like unhinged, male truthers, let's say, like who are all about that defense, and there are people.
Oh my god. No, please have the right take. Please, I'm begging you. Please have the right take. Please. Oh my god. Has she played the game in the first place? Because I feel like in order to have this argument, you need to play the game. I just don't think there's any reality in which like you don't play the game. It's like you're not gonna get a lot of the things I'm talking about, right?
Who are like people
And
like
agree with you.
Western
We'll
ass
see.
takes as well. They're like genocide, and I'm like, oh no, not genocide. Are these like Gaza people are here? So yeah, I was just like memeing about
I
that.
didn't
And then
say
you have Aspen Gold ass take, which is like basically women are wrong and men are right. That sort of take.
true.
And you're like,
Wow.
fuck. Like yeah, and all
You did
takes
play
are
the
so
game 3
weird. Like, and
times?
I also kind of like don't
Oh.
agree like with everything you said from what I heard, obviously, but it's
You
not.
can't be right
Shit,
about everything.
really?
Referring to you.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
I mean, sure, buddy.
Oh.
You paid with so much attention, okay, compared to me who played this game
Mhm.
3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, so yeah. But I do think like one thing I kind of like don't agree with you about is like the sentience bit. I think you like under the impression that there aren't sentient to a point that they're basically like chat GPT people, if I'm not like wrong. If
I
that's
think
your take.
there's fuck. I can't argue this with you actually because I might give you a take, but I think you might have given me this take, or I got it from somebody else because I really do steal like half your takes when I argue these points.
Inception of takes.
What?
Wait, are you the one that told me the issue with the world, the painted world, and viewing them as sentient? Were you the one that gave me the take? I feel bad because I don't respond to all of them too, and I know still for stream. That basically the issue with the painted world is that what it allows Mael to do is never grow. She never has to actually grow or accept any responsibility.
Yeah, but okay. Well, the issue is that I don't care about Mael growing or not. Okay? Like if you're so concerned with the game and everything that you weigh for it is Mael growing, that's fine. But it's more of a better like it's more of a byproduct than anything else. Stutter? I'm sorry, it's just you. Nobody else is complaining about a stutter. There is no stutter problem. Jinjiling.
I did say that.
Yeah, because you said that like she's not going to paint a world that's difficult or challenging for her. It's always going to be one that satisfies. And then you brought up like Gustav and like these fake people that are all
Yeah,
playing
that
into.
was me.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
For
so, yeah.
sure, yeah.
Wait, okay, so wait, do
Yeah.
you disagree with this? Well, okay, what's your argument against your argument? Because that's what it feels like in terms of their sentience. Like they're not even truly free things. Like they're all here at the end of the day to serve the pleasures and whims of what Mael psychologically finds comforting.
So my take is a little bit like complicated because I think it's a complicated story. They're not like just chat GPT people. They are art made alive.
Sure.
So that's a bit different. That I don't like how people are not artsy about it.
Because they're watching on YouTube where the stutter just adds to the delay. There's no stutter. What are you talking about? Okay, there is drop frames, but it's like 1.4%. Like, who cares? It's like nothing.
No, it's artsy fartsy French game. You gotta be artsy, okay?
It says excellent connection on my end.
You gotta see them as basically it's like a little bit like a Christian sort of thing in a way, right? Because it's like God is also like a painter, right?
Sure, a little bit, yeah.
For example.
Wait, can I?
Yeah. So,
Here's a challenge,
sorry.
actually. I'm curious if you agree or disagree with this. I think this is a fundamental flaw of the game. I think they fucked up really hard here. I feel like the third act, I feel like having Verso as the main character, I think they could have done so much more, either focusing it on someone else or making Mael the main character. Because I think one of the reasons why it's hard to be sympathetic towards a lot of the painted people is you have Mael, who is a real person, Alicia or whatever, and then you've got the family who are real people who are suffering. And then you've got Verso, who's...
Intermittent study. I hate you, dude. Okay, I'm just gonna... Okay, come back in 30 minutes, okay? Radiant, I still love you, okay? But come back in 30 minutes.
like a derivative
please.
or comes
Oh my
from,
God.
is, painted by the
I
mom.
can't deal with Radiant right now, okay? I just can't do it. I can't do it, okay? I need a
Derivatives
break
of
from
the,
that.
the real Verso, and these are who the entire story
I can't
centers
do it.
on. You get like stories about CL and her husband, and of Gustav and his girlfriend, kind of. But I feel like you just don't get enough of them. Like if there would have been more focus on those people rather than everything being like kind of related back to Verso.
I agree with that. But that's the director's fault, right? That's the director's fault, right? I can give because I was already give. I don't think I was doing bad like giving evidence, right? I think I gave plenty of evidence. So you have CL and her husband, right? You have Lune and her parents. You have Mayo, obviously, right? You have you have Verso and Julia, right? Lots of people forget that, but I'm just saying it's not like that was placed in the fucking game for no reason. Like otherwise, what was the point of putting that in the game to present him as some kind of like psychopath? I guess I don't fucking know, right? It has to mean something to him, right? Like what's the point of like Noko like sacrificing itself to protect the party against Renoir, right? Like there would just be no point in so many things. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just
and
okay,
back to
whatever.
the real people. I just feel like it makes it harder to sell that idea of like, oh, these are sentient people. We should respect and think about these guys almost as much as real people. Yeah, God.
I feel like I kind of like don't agree at all because I feel like I cared a lot. So I'm not one of those people who are like, they're not real, fuck 'em. So I wasn't like in the camp of it's an easy ass.
I will say the director did a poor job though, showing that oh yeah they are like real human beings because it's fine. I think they did an adequate job. However, they could have done better on some things. For example, the ending. The ending for the Mael shit was so crazy dark in comparison to the hopeful feeling Verso ending, and we can all agree on that. But at the same time, I understand why they made the Mayo ending so dark. The reason why they made the Mayo ending so dark was because otherwise it just seems like a happy ending, right? There is no consequence. There technically is no immediate consequences in that ending, right? For example, you can argue that she's gonna lose her mind in the painting, but at the same time, what did Clea say? Clea said, mother and father have spent more time in other paintings, right? What does that mean in the like in comparison to Aline like going crazy and bonkers? Well, I mean, she probably was already bonkers before this like fucking Verso painting, right? Because she has spent so much time in paintings in general to be that bonkers, right? But it's just that Verso's death is the main breaking force. I don't know. This shit is so stupid.
Choice. It was an easiest choice in the sense that I think it's.
Did Destiny ever make a point against Gustav making a device that can kill the paintress? Yeah,
the only choice I think is
True.
moral in that situation. And
There's
but
so many things that's
I
true.
was I sided with one side, you know, not because like I thought the other side had no good arguments. And I think like I was very sad first time. I like cried straight up because I was like, fuck, like I have to let this go, like this beautiful.
Oh my god, she cried over E33 than over Ukraine. I'm kidding.
World that I really got to love. Like the people that I related to their struggle. You start from their perspective. Like each act is you basically end each act with a grand fight for that character. So for Gustave, who's a representative of Lumiere, right? As you know, he's like even his like main theme. He's actually the only character who doesn't have his own specific theme, music theme. It's a variation of Lumiere.
Sure.
So he represents that.
I'm sympathetic towards that, but I guess I think the problem is I feel like so much from Verso's perspective, you would agree that Verso wanted Alicia to.
No, just Steven, please. I hate no, please. I can't handle this. I can't handle this.
Right.
This is
Right.
too triggering.
Like, Verso allowed Gustav to die. I think that that's revealed. Yeah. So he let Gustav die. He knew that he needed to die. I feel like when it came to the painted people,
it's pretty bad.
When it came to Lune and Ciel, I feel like maybe I'm just reading the emotion wrong. Maybe I don't know. It felt like they were less like sad that they were going to be gone, and more that it almost felt like they were conveying more that they were just upset that Verso like hid stuff from them or backstep from them. Maybe I was reading too much into that, but like just when everything.
They were pretty fucking. I mean, Luna was straight up giving you the stare from hell, like because she's obviously fucking mad that she like trusted you again and you like backstabbing her again big time. And same with Ciel because she forgives you for the first betrayal, but.
Yeah, it's understandable. It's understandable why they reacted the way that they did. They extended like their trust towards you when they probably shouldn't have, right? Because Verso is just straight up a complete stranger to the entire party. That's just the reality of it, right? Verso is a complete stranger. There's no reason like and not only that, it was right after a tragedy. It was right after like a huge tragedy that Verso inserts himself into it and then stole all of his fucking gear and used it for himself. That's pretty fucked up.
But she then like, well, if you make, help me bring Pierre back, then, we're even, basically, right? So you like also betray her, but she like steps inside to say, to essentially like, just, look at you and to convey with her look what she thinks about it and everything. Like Eskia comes in to say goodbye to Versa, obviously, right? And Luna is like, no, fuck you, dude. Like, I'm staying alive until my like very last second. I'm not stepping into the portal to like disappear until the very last moment. So it's real in a sense, because I don't think it's right to say they're not sentient simply because they have the will that they enact. It's that will can be rewritten by the painter is what makes it awkward.
Sure.
So
No. The will can also be overpowered by the painted, right? Because there's like multiple instances in which, in the last moment of defiance, that even Clea is unable to completely control some people. So Painted Clea, who is a secret super boss, that you get to fight, Painted Clea, she broke free at the very last moment. And she killed herself. Yeah, because she no longer wanted to keep living to paint Nevrons. I something that's so incredibly cool is that there's already there's already evidence of the painted defying the will of the painters since the very beginning, actually. When you meet the white Nevrons do not attack you, but the colored Nevrons do. The colored Nevrons are created by Clea. Because all means of destruction within the canvas and the way that the destruction of the canvas is being constructed is that Renoir didn't want anything in the painting to have a bad death, because to Renoir, they are real people, because he has said as such. Like, I'm sorry on behalf of the Descendre family that we have to put you through this, right? He said that to Painted Verso. So he knows himself that they are real. However, he has convinced himself that killing all of them was worth it if it means bringing his wife back, right, to the real world. That is what he has convinced himself. Which makes it pretty bad, because he acknowledges that they are sentient, but he still took the extra step to say, yeah, no, you know what, the life of my wife is more valuable than you sentient people, which is, I mean that is supervillain energy, okay? I just want to make that very clear. Another aspect is so Clea is the one that created Nevrons and created the ones that were eating up the mountains and shit that you see on the map. Because she took pleasure in torturing beings that she did not see as real. The reason why she has more of a villainous arc, even though her motives are still like complicated, is because when you are acting out in anger, because she represents the part of grief that represents anger, right? When she's acting out in anger, you not only hurt people you don't like, but you also hurt people you like originally as well. And it's so well demonstrated because she created the Nevrons. She created the Nevrons to bring terror and destruction upon the world. And that's really important, because she also disguised herself as the Painted Clea in order to fool Simon to fall in love with her, in order to do her bidding, essentially trap him inside of a delusion. Yeah, I don't know. Like, Clea is the most powerful painter, by far. It's yeah. I think Aling is the is powerful, but not as powerful as Clea. And even then, Clea's will can be defied. Like, for example, Simon, at the end of the battle, if you beat Simon, and if you beat Simon, Simon will spend his last moments not fighting you or doing crazy shit, but by giving you the sword, because he's finally broken through Clea's control. It's his last defiance by giving you the sword, right? He has broken free of that delusion that Clea has constructed for him. Another thing is, when Painted Clea is creating the white Nevrons that don't hurt anyone as an act of defiance, that is also an act of defiance. Because chances are, Clea herself wanted Painted Clea to keep producing Nevrons to kill the people of the painting, right? Like, she wants Painted Clea to keep on doing the bidding that she wants. But Painted Clea doesn't want to do that. Painted Clea instead creates Nevrons that are flawed on purpose so that they don't kill anybody, so that they're passive, so that they're insightful, so that they can actually learn things and have intelligence. Right? That's all the white Nevrons that are around the world, are all the creations of Painted Clea. Right? It's her act of defiance against the painter, right? So, yeah, it's so crazy as well, because in retrospect, everything starts to make sense, because the white Borgian, whatever, it says, oh, I want to grow tall, I want to grow high, because I want to see the main mistress. Who is the mistress? The mistress, at first you thought the mistress was the paintress, right? The mistress that the white Nevron is talking about is actually Painted Clea. Painted Clea was the one that created the white Nevron. And Painted Clea is in the mansion in the sky. Because he wants to grow tall in order to see Painted Clea inside that mansion. I mean, obviously you still can't really see her, right? But everything just starts to make sense. I don't know. I don't know. You know what? I might have to just accept that. I might just have to accept that Steven just doesn't have enough intelligence to engage with, like, the medium. I'm sorry. It's just because I'm not even sure, because he should be catching all of this. He shouldn't be. I don't know. Maybe he's just too autistic or some shit. Because there's just. Otherwise, it would be a really boring game. It would be objectively a really boring game if Steven interprets it the way that he interprets it. But yeah, rant over. Okay, I'm sorry, rant over. Okay, I just have to rant about it because he's just objectively wrong. But it's like, whatever. Because on one hand, you can have a really exciting game that has many layers of complexity, or you can have a very boring game where the answer is just terminate everyone because the simulation is bad. Like what message do you want? Like, obviously, like, one message is so much more richer and so much, like, better.
It's not that they don't have the will, right? For example, Aline created them, Lumiere people, like decorations, basically, right? For her son and her painted family to live in that city.
He has the extended take, the boring take.
At all.
He had Asmongold's take, which means he's wrong.
She was like this Greek god that doesn't really give a fuck, right? She created them and they started to basically live their own lives. So they get birthed, right? They grew up. So it's not like they're like, I don't know, Blade Runner.
I gotta think UkrainianAna.
But there's like, in Blade Runner, there's like this replicant stuff, right? And they're like live for 4 years, and they're like they have like memories of other people, but they don't really like grow full process from childhood to elderly age. It's not like this is completely. They're like their own thing. They created and they given this like basically a sort of freedom to go about their lives, right?
Kind of.
But how
within
much
a confine
freedom
of that,
they have? Yeah, they're just like, I would say the good argument is that they're very limited in what they can be. But does that make them not real or not sentient? I think my take is they're less real than real people, and I value them slightly less, ultimately. But not that I don't value them at all, right?
Exhausting.
For example, a dog,
I think
I value less than
like we can, dude, because we would never look at any piece of literature. Like, for example, I view it as a piece of literature, right? I would never view. Yeah, I would never view this as a piece of literature where it's as boring I was like it's like looking at a Shakespeare play and then simply just going, well, I mean, I guess the lesson is that Macbeth is like he just became evil and he died and everyone died and it's just the story of a medieval king. No, like it's the analysis is so much deeper than that. Like how boring does Shakespeare's plays? How boring is any of Shakespeare's works? I mean, they are boring, okay. But if you read them, okay, if you read them, it really depends. Like how boring is it if you just I don't know if you just don't get anything from that? I don't know, dude. Like. Otherwise, any piece of literature is just so boring. Yeah.
Human.
Yeah.
But it's not that I don't value its life and I would like shoot it in the fucking head, right?
Yeah,
If
I think I would probably agree with that. I think the issue, my big argument, I don't know if you watched it, was one with food shops, and her argument was that they were
no, I
as
couldn't.
No.
her argument was that
No.
they were as real as real people. So it's do you choose one family or do you
No.
genocide a whole situation or civilization? Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think
I
you should
don't
definitely
agree
feel
with
sad about for sure. They're not nothing. Yeah, I mean, even a painting is not nothing right now.
Why do you just do this to him, but not me? Hold on, I gotta scream at him now. What the fuck? Where is he?
Yes, it's not nothing at all. It's like it's a product of beautiful creation, of imagination, of art, right? So art reflects the artist. Like this whole like thing in the game was like the art is both can be a mirror and how art can be a mirror and a window, right? But great art is both.
Sure.
So that's kind of like this whole debate that was in France back in the day, in Belle Epoque, which this game is based off that period. No, vaguely. It's just inspired by that period, I guess you could say. It was this whole debate about like modern art and like...
Well, Claire Obscure is actually a real...
This is the dankest dungeon.
Oh, hey, Radiant, thank you so much for resubbing on Kick. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you guys don't know, Claire Obscure is actually a real art style. Also, by the way, a slight smile, okay? I didn't actually ban you. It seems to be a timeout. I didn't actually ban you. So I'm like trying to look through the list because I was looking to unban you. I can't find you. I don't think you're there. Also, hold on. Claire Obscure Art. Yeah. Like this is an entire art style. It's fucking cool as shit. It's like one of the coolest art styles. That was born out of the Renaissance, I think. Was it from the Renaissance or Victorian times or some shit? Yeah. I mean, that's on purpose. That's all on purpose. Like the reason why it's called Claire Obscure is on purpose. Hold on. Old art. Because now the fucking Claire Obscure shit, like now it's being completely overtaken by the fucking game, but it's always been like fucking beautiful paintings. Hold on. Which is again what the game is trying to be, I guess. To varying levels of success. Like this shit is sick, dude. Look at this. Look how sick this shit is. This is Claire Obscure. Because you have this is basically that art style, okay? Basically you have very, very dynamic lighting in order to create like very, very shadowy areas in the same painting as very, very light areas. So like the way that the light hits your face or the way that light hits fabric or any kind of object and it's to like the skill to create that kind of painting is like the entire point of Claire Obscure, and yeah, it's really good. Okay, but yeah, and it's meant to be symbolic as well, just like the game.
Impressionism, new wave art, basically, right? And people of the new wave were like, it's supposed to express a feeling of mine. So how I see the things, right? So it's like
it's meant to. I think maybe at the time, if I were to guess, the way that it's supposed to come off to people is that it's way to come. It like the way it's supposed to come off is like it's supposed to seem alive, but at the same time nostalgic. I think that it's supposed to be a little nostalgic because I'm pretty sure when we look back to the old days where we're like looking at it with like rose tinted glasses, our childhoods and such, like it's very like lighting. Like a lot of your memories are like colored by lighting, right? Like yeah, it's like very there's a very nostalgic feeling when you look at dynamic light shadow kind of shit, right? When you're walking down the street and the light hits a specific way, that's very nostalgic, right? I don't know. Like for me, at the very least, like that's what Clair Obscur to me is all about. Is like the way that it kind of hits your inner vibe. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the purpose of the art. But yeah,
it's a mirror, right? It reflects me. And
Light
the
and
other
dark,
side was
yeah.
arguing it's supposed to be a window. So it's supposed to show,
that's what it's supposed to be.
you know,
yeah.
how it is actually, like how it looks in reality. So like realistic art, you know, versus like impressionist favism, all of that expressionism kind of stuff. So, you know, there's a whole thing about this in the game as well, obviously. But so
really cool.
It's in a way there are
Objectively.
expressions of the creators.
Mhm.
It can't be any other way because for example, like there's a lot of like thing that Eileen's grief, right? It kind of mars this whole world. So it like
Okay, so fuck. It's just that, listen, okay, Steven just lacks so much like reading comprehension, okay? It's crazy. The way that Aline scars the world, and I've seen it in the video, okay, so it must be true. No, but it makes the most sense, okay? Is that originally this is a child's painting, okay? This is a child's painting. Painting over another person's piece of art is scandalous, right? Like most people would think that's pretty damn scandalous, right? Obviously, you can stack art on top of existing art and you could evolve the art, right? Like that's perfectly possible, but most people would agree that's somewhat scandalous, especially when it's painted by Verso, right? Who is dead now. And it was when he created it when he was a kid. So it's like, there's so many aspects here that's like especially fucked up, where now that Aline has essentially touched the canvas, she's touched it with her grief, right? She's touched it with her grief. And in her moment of grief where she wants to live in Verso's like canvas, she paints humans. Humans which represent both joy and suffering, right? As opposed to all the paintbrush creatures, the like fucking gestrels and shit like that. Like these other creatures are pure joy, right? Before the Nevrons, before the humans, they were the first. So they were like beings of pure joy. And they like to fight, but it brought them happiness. It brought them happiness to fight, right? These were created by Verso, right? Because again, they had very simple and happy existences. But then it was when Aline came, created Old Lumiere, painted like a million humans, and that created suffering. Because with humans comes strife, right? With humans come hatred, guilt, all of these feelings, right? It's kind of like opening Pandora's box, to me, at the very least. I don't know. That's just the kind of way I interpret it, but yeah.
Hope drowns it in like this grief, Gomage, like this doomsday ticking thing, Renoir,
Yes,
Aline,
she's
all
right.
their
Okay,
battle
she's right.
between
Right.
each
She's
other.
right.
It
Okay,
all
yeah.
made this world full
Yep.
of grief, which it wasn't
Yep.
like that when Verso painted it, right? It was
Yeah.
like happy, whimsical childhood.
Oh my gosh, she actually understands reading comprehension. Holy shit, she actually has reading comprehension. That's so crazy to me, dude. This is why we need a woman interpreting everything, okay? Dude, I'm sick and tired of these men, okay? Men like Verso and Destiny, all right? Interpreting things from their own end and simplifying everything down and like having nothing mean anything and anything meaning nothing and thinking that it's the Giga Chad move to have a very simple take on everything. It's so stupid.
Sort of like
Anyway.
fantasy with like no people in it at all. It was just them.
Her
At
take is
first,
ba-
like
her
four of
take
them,
is
Esquier,
base.
Francois, Claire, and Verso, right? But then it was like he made gestures.
Oh my god, see, this is why you need to go through an IRL war in order to understand what I'm talking about, okay? The reason why Destiny doesn't know what I'm talking about is because Destiny has never been through the Ukrainian war, okay? It is the only conclusion, all right? It's the only conclusion, it's the only explanation, okay? Because he's not stupid.
From like the brushes
He's just
and tools
autistic.
he used, he made them like into living creatures, right? And Esquias is like his plushie, basically, right? That he
We need to hot drop Twin Towers Destiny right into Kharkiv or some shit,
made
okay?
alive. So it's a bit more, I think, than just like AI fucking they don't matter. It's a bit more because it's about, it's also has, this game also has like magic element to it, obviously. Souls, shit like that, right? So it has like piece of Verso soul in it.
And yeah, she's still a Verso chooser. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Verso choosers if your analysis is better, okay? Like her analysis is objectively like correct, but then at the same time, I don't know. Like, did she choose Verso at first? Like, did she believe the Verso ending is better? I don't know. Like, she never said any of that. She could be, because if I played New Game Plus and I was playing the game a second time, I would pick Verso. The reason why I would pick Verso is because it's not because of a moral decision making, but it's because I want to see what the other endings look like. I want to see like the fucking other story parts of the game, right? Like, that's just something I would do.
Which is all painters
completionism.
leave a piece of their soul in the canvases they create. And I think that's pretty cute because, you know, we say like a painter put his soul into something, right? We mean that like a lot of the feeling went into creating the thing, right? And yeah, it's kind of like that. But yeah, ultimately, just the problem with Mael word, of course, Mael ending is, first of all, it's a fucking Black Mirror episode. Like, I don't know how can you watch that thing and think, yeah, that's based, that's a happy one. So yeah, it's just it's.
Well, that's my criticism of the director, right? That's my critique of the director. They did a lot of things that I didn't agree with, actually. Like, for example, I actually agree with Destiny. I agree with Destiny in the sense that I think that the character development with the side characters felt rushed and incomplete. It didn't actually feel like they went through any real development at all. Like, Lune and CL kind of felt like they went through the same development. Like, the only people that gained any semblance of like real like depth to their character is Mael, obviously, and Verso, right? Like, even though Verso came around like the second act, like there was enough about his backstory and shit to where you understand him as a character. But then when it came to Lune and CL, I just don't think enough attention has been given to them. And oh my god, and fuck, what is the what is the like what is the fifth like party member called again? Fuck me, it's the paintbrush. Fuck me. Never mind. Okay, you get what I mean. Okay, like I just wish even he got more development. Like, I even forgot his name. The fact that I forgot his name is horrible. Monaco, exactly. Like, that should tell you, right? That should tell you the fact that like it's I probably shouldn't forget his name, even though his like I remember his theme more than his name because his theme was such a banger. Wait, hold on, I gotta play it right now. Oh my god. Bro, this is such a banger. This is like the best piece of soundtrack in the entire
It's just
game.
that she
Anyway.
creates basically like a dollhouse. She's like even worse than Aline in that sense because Aline created her own painted family and then she kind of like didn't give a fuck about the rest of them. Like the rest of the people in Lumiere were just doing their thing, right? Before the fracture, I mean.
Sure.
And here she like actively there. So she can like enact control over like literally everyone there. And how could she not? Because she is escaping what Aline was kind of escaping, you know, death, mortality of her like, you know, brother who died. And I think it's kind of like tragic that Aline is so powerful. She can create this like awesome new world, right? New people, but she can't fix shit in real life. Which is what makes it real life.
I will say,
if you die in real life, you die.
I don't know if I missed part of this, but like you can tell me, like technically,
the game is like when you get killed, you die. Whoa, that's deep.
Wasn't Aline similar to Alicia in that didn't she also get lost in the canvas? Like, wasn't the fracture? Was it Renoir breaking her out initially, or?
Yeah.
No. The mistake. Another like even if you were to interpret the game,
this is the dankest dungeon.
Let's go to mid. E33 had mid writers that didn't take into account the Verso versus Mael choice. Pepe laugh. True. Radiant's right. Thank you though. Thank you for the 3 months once again. Yeah, like, fuck. Even if you were to interpret, like, forget about the sentience question, okay? Because with the sentience question, I'm just completely correct on that one. I'm sorry, there's no other answer except that I'm just completely correct. But even if you didn't take into account the sentience of the character, extremes are bad. That's the entire point of Clear Obscure, is that extremes are bad, right? The reason why both Verso and Mael are both so bad, I guess, like, you can argue a case for both being bad and the game only having bad endings, is because it was designed that way. It's because these characters only see in black or white, clear, obscure, right? Black or white, clear, obscure. Absolute cinema, all right? But notice that in the letter, that Alicia, the painted Alicia, has written to painted Verso, it said, maybe you can find an alternative. Maybe extremes is not the good way to go about this. Maybe you guys can have both if you could compromise. But what happened? Well, they killed the paintress first, and then he read the letter. So he read the letter too late, okay, for that letter to change any of his mind, because the timing, it's an unfortunate timing thing where he is, because he reads the letter afterwards, not before, okay? He reads the letter afterwards. Yeah. And in addition, the person who is the most well-adjusted to deal with shades of gray is dead. It's Gustav, right? If Gustav was still alive, I think if Gustav had a choice to pick his own ending, the ending that he would pick is a compromise, because he actually understood the nuances of life and death. But in order for the story to be interesting, he has to die. He has to die for all the character development to happen. So, and for the story to actually be interesting. Because how uninteresting would it be if Gustav just simply picked the best ending because he lived through to the very end, right? He had to die for the story to be interesting. Very sad, I know, but it is what it is, right? I don't know. Like, from my perspective, this is just the reality of the genre. I don't know. But yeah.
Basically, the timeline of the events is that if you like pick up all the fucking journals, you can
Mhm.
really.
Because Gustav has dealt with death in the terms of Sophie, right? But at the same time, he is willing to see the other side. He's willing to acknowledge and like interpret things and be a little bit more thoughtful than Verso, right? At the very least, like Gustav is objectively a better person than Verso, right? But yeah,
Figure it out. The timeline is basically she was the real Verso dies in fire because of Alicia's mistake, essentially, because she in some way like colludes or like at least chats with the writers, which is like the opposing fraction that
Sure.
painters are fighting,
Mhm.
and as a result of that, because of her, not because of malevolence, but by mistake, it costs like Verso his life, who saves her.
she was a
and
child.
dies in the
Yeah,
process, and she gets
she's a
fucked
child.
big time in terms of like she's maimed in constant pain with no eye and all of that. So Aline can't deal with any of that shit because like she lost, I imagine, her favorite child that died by the accident of like basically her younger child, the one she likes the least.
Is there any
died
indication
because
that
of
she didn't like her before that, or was it just that she kind of blames her for losing?
Nah, it was just that, I suspect that Verso was probably Aling's favorite as well. There are three children, right? Verso, Aling. Sorry, fuck me, dude. Verso, Mael, and Clea, right? I suspect that Verso was probably the most favorite of Aling among her kids. Just mainly because like he was the only guy in the family other than the dad. Like he was the only guy in the family other than the dad, so it's understandable why she liked Verso the most as
Losing her
well.
son.
So yeah,
I guess there's like this pretty
Yeah.
normal like favoritism because when you get
there's
in
normal
the
favoritism.
in the mansion, in real mansion with Alicia maimed.
I'm sure Verso would have wanted there to be a different way, but from being alive so long and nothing changing, he became very jaded with his existence. Yeah. I think the thought process that he had was, oh, it doesn't matter if I die. Because it doesn't matter if I kill everyone else when I die, because to me, at the very least, at least I have died. And if I die anyway, then like everybody else's existence technically means nothing, right? Like there's no point in caring about other people's existences if you die, right? Like if any one of us dies, like we lack the ability to care for people like because we're dead. We have reached non-existence. Because we have reached non-existence, like what point is there to care about anybody else in the world, right? Because you're just trying to reach non-existence. So if you kill the rest of the world in order to reach non-existence, like so be it, right? Because from his perspective, it's like, okay, fine, then I'm gonna go for it. But don't make any mistake, okay? Verso does recognize everybody else in the world to be sentient, okay? So he's not a person who just views the paintings and the painted people to be like objects to be played with or anything like that. Because remember, he fell in love with Julia, right? He fell in love with Julia. He acknowledges his sister as real people. He acknowledges his painted family as real people, right? So there's like multiple aspects in which like it shows that Verso acknowledges the sentience of everybody there. But yeah. Doesn't he care about seeing his sister return home, though? What do you mean? Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, but like I have a suspicion that's That's more of an excuse, like in my opinion. Like I don't think he actually believes in it. I think it's more like, oh, it's more of a side bonus if he can ever get around to it. Because again, his like most primary thing is that he just wants to die. That's it. That's his entire personality. His entire personality is I want to die, right? That's more of a side thing.
And
yeah.
run around. You can interact with the wall, and she says like, here's the wall where our family's painting are presented, and she like, and there's like Verso's painting, Clea's painting, and she's like, and this is my little one in the corner, the only one Maman deemed good enough for the wall.
Okay.
Sure.
So
interesting.
there was like this some sort of like I guess treatment, but that's kind of normal. Like most people like
Yeah, because it could just be
It's
like
unfortunate,
yeah, and it
though.
could be maybe because you've got
It is
elder
unfortunate.
children versus younger children. But I also wonder just maybe because she was younger too. Maybe she didn't have time for it. But,
yeah. I
but
mean,
don't know.
it's
I still haven't played, but yeah, doesn't he have a right to die? Sounds like she's putting him through eternal torture from what I've heard. Yeah, but then the question is, like, is it worth it to put someone through eternal torture, or is it right to put someone, or is it right to kill a world? Like the question is, would you put one person through slavery to keep the world alive? Right? I mean, like your answer to that would be how you would choose the ending.
kind of like typical
in a
mom
way,
tends to
right?
like really often love the son very much, but also like fathers also oftentimes prioritize the smallest kid, like the daughter, for example. And it's kind of how Renoir seems to feel. Like Alicia seems to be like his actual favorite because most vulnerable. They kind of feel protective and stuff like that. So it's kind of it's kind of like they are like a bit toxic as like
Yeah, I'll lean to move on,
aristocratic,
sure.
God-given powers of paint shit family would be,
That makes
but
it
it's not like
worse.
anything that people paint them as actual fucking
True.
demons. Sometimes I don't know why it's not indicated. Her real animosity became clear when she even says so to Alicia in the painting. She's like, "You child, you like disobeyed me, and now he's dead." Something like that. She says. So she basically like says that Alicia, disobeyed her, and because of that, Verso died. She also explains in her own letter that it pains her to look at Alicia because the scars.
Mael lets Verso age, which is a compromise. Yeah, that's something I feel like has that he has missed. I think that's legitimately something that Destiny has missed. Is that Verso in the Mael ending, he ages. That's something that he wasn't allowed to do when it came to Aline. Aline didn't allow him to age because Aline wanted him to be the handsome Giga Chad like male, right? That never ages, right? But it is implied that Mael allows Verso to age like a normal fucking person and presumably also to die like a normal person as well, right? So basically turn him mortal, turn him into like one of the painted ones, the other painted ones, not the ones that are like superpower painted, right? Yeah.
Remind her always of that day. So like she can't escape it, and just looking at her, that grief kind of reflects back. She can't like stop thinking about it. So she starts
like,
to
how do you
basically
miss this?
disappear into
Whatever,
canvas
man.
that Verso made to feel his presence essentially, because his soul is there and shit. And she then starts to go more and more, apparently by the arguments she has with Renoir, and then she ultimately just stays there permanently. She creates Lumiere people, and she creates her painted family.
Did you just basically boil the paintings down to a TikTok mom? Well, sure, but like you have to keep in mind that Aline is also a villain, okay? And like again, this is coming from the perspective of me, right? It's like you should. Like the way I view it is that it's a mother that gave birth to millions of children because they are in grief. That's not right. That's obviously not right. Of course. Like a child, if you're just using childbirth as a way to cope with, as a way to cope through pain and grief and loss, that's probably not the right thing to do because you fuck over all of your children because you're not in a correct position to take care of them, which is objectively true. Which is objectively true in Aline's case, right? Like it's just objectively true. Like that's the way I view it. It's like she gave birth to all these because she just couldn't handle it, right?
The version of
Yeah.
each family member, basically, how she wants them.
Sure.
Does
Alicia
yeah, and then
does Alicia get into the canvas before or after the fracture?
after?
I wish there was more discussion about Clea, just mainly because I think Clea is one of the most complicated characters. I think that you can analyze Mael versus Verso to death, but Clea is the one that people sleep on, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Clea is like so much like if I were to pick the best discourse out of E33, I would not pick Mael versus Verso. It's interesting. Like Mael versus Verso will always be an interesting like thing because there's so much evidence on both sides, right? But at the same time, it's not the most interesting thing to me. Like, the most interesting thing is the way that Clea is being represented, essentially. And the discussion on whether or not she's a villain. I think whether or not she's a villain is such a great question. Yeah, I think that's a more of an interesting
After,
question.
They already
Yeah.
fight in there. So yeah,
because
so
the
then
fracture
she
is
like
Because you can argue she's not a villain just simply because from her perspective, none of the painted people are real. That's from her perspective, none of them are real. And yeah, like obviously you can see from her perspective why none of these people matter to her, right? And why everything she does is kind of justified from her end of things, right? Like, why would you not take revenge and do battle in IRL with the people, and she needs all the help that she can get, right? Of course, from her perspective, she doesn't have to care about anything regarding that painting, right? But then at the same time, she didn't have to create all of these Nevrons, right? She should have taken the Renoir route by like helping Gamage, right? But she didn't Gamage. She could have Gamage, but she chose to not Gamage. Instead, she tried to make the world a living hell, right? She created all these Nevrons in order to torture the world, in order to make Aline to be tortured, in order to torture Aline on purpose, so then she would escape back to reality, right? Back to the outer world, which is not right. But then that's her reasoning. But then clearly she has a very like sociopathic. She clearly has a very sociopathic like side to her. Like Clea has a very sociopathic life like side to her, where she takes pleasure. She takes pleasure into manipulating Simon to think that he is in love with her. So then she is able to trick him into becoming the super boss that he is today, right? That's fucked up. That's so like it takes a special level of ruthlessness, in my opinion, to do something like that. Really, it takes a specific level of ruthlessness to do something like that. And that is like villain energy for sure. Another, yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, the game also presents a more sympathetic view of Clea, because if you do the towers, which is what Clea made because she was addicted to combat, I guess, when if you did the tower, if you do the gauntlet all the way to the end, the shade of Clea essentially says, well, I mean, just do what makes you happy, okay? You don't have to live for anyone. Just do what makes you happy, right? In a way, that shade of Clea contradicts a little bit of the real world Clea, but that is still her at some point. That is still her at some point, right? I don't know. Like, yeah. It's Clea speaking to Mael, going like, no matter what you choose, just know that you should do it for your own happiness. Yeah.
what starts after the fracture starts is when the countdown starts, right? The
Gamage
Gamage start. Yeah,
part.
okay. So
Yeah,
it would have been
because
after. Yeah.
she's like sitting there, like basically killing herself slowly because her body like starts like having the effects, I guess, of being in the painting for so long, and then
Which, in a way, is kind of funny. Why? Because, well, Clea wants to break everyone out, right? Clea, no. Clea doesn't care about the father. She said, "Oh, you can." No, I don't think Clea actually has a real issue with these people being in the painting. Okay, like for example, Clea didn't give a fuck about her mom being in the painting because she could wage the war on her own. It's like a 1v50 John Wick. All right, she can wage the war on her own. She doesn't need her mom's help in any way. That's the way that it's been implied. But the reason why she needs the dad to break out is because she still needs the dad for a practical purpose, IRL. So she's the one that wants to break the dad out, but the dad doesn't want to break out until he's broken Aling out. So
Renoir barges in
Yeah.
basically at some point, and he's like, "Wife, what the fuck?" Like, and he then tries to get her out, and she's like super resistant, and then they fight, and then the fracture happens. So
Basically,
the
family
world
is
like gets
complicated.
torn to pieces essentially, and piece of Lumiere drops on the island where we start the game, and old Lumiere like stays on the continent essentially.
Seems
and
so
then,
boring. No, that's okay if you think it's boring. Like turn-based gameplay isn't for everyone, despite the fact that I like the spin it does on turn-based.
She gets trapped under the monolith, and he gets trapped in the drafts, and they basically just go at it.
Yeah.
And the Gomar, and he tries to eliminate all of her creations to reduce chroma of hers in.
Oh yeah, by the way, you stop the Gamage in the game. Simon is the source of the Gamage. Because before Renoir was the source of the Gamage. However, I think Simon was turned into the source of the Gamage at some point, right? I don't know how or whatever, but basically, like when he was being painted over by the real Clea, and then Renoir turned him into like a beacon for the Gamage. Yeah, which is essentially what happened. Because originally Simon actually went to the bottom of the monolith to fight Renoir, but Renoir was more powerful and overpowered because like a painter versus a painted, right? Renoir was still more powerful. And keep in mind that Simon was not super powered back then. Simon wasn't blessed with the power of the painters back then, right? So yeah, it's understandable why Renoir managed to beat him and manipulate him and like turn him into the source of the Gamad.
in the painting, because she who controls the chroma
So if you beat Simon, you stop the Gamage. That's it. No more Gamage. Now you get to live forever, right? Like after you beat Simon. But anyway, but it's already too late by that point, right? It's kind of already too late because even if you beat Simon and you stop the Gamage now, you still have to defeat the father because the father is going to reenact the Gamage, right? He's going to find another person to turn into the source of the Gamage. So like, yeah, like you have to go after the father essentially.
the canvas. Basically, yes, chrome is like energy, like it's paint, right, in this world.
Yeah.
Life force, I guess you could say. So the more she has of her like life force.
Oh yeah, by the way, not all the Nevrons are painted by Clea. The Nevrons that you fight in the end game, that is in Renoir's drafts and in Lumiere, are all Nevrons that are painted by Renoir. But his art style is so different from Clea's art style. They have two completely different art styles. And I think that's also something that's extremely interesting. You can tell which Nevrons are painted by which people depending on the art style, right? Themes of void and black and white are painted by Renoir. More colorful Nevrons are painted by Clea. The white Nevrons are painted by Painted Clea. Because the game fools you. What's so masterful about the game is that the game makes you think. The game makes you think that every single Nevron was painted by the paintress. But it turns out the paintress painted none of the Nevrons. And then you think, oh wait, the Nevrons must have been painted by whoever made the Gamage then. No, that's not even true. It's not, like, that's not even necessarily true. Like, it's so cool, like, how you figure out, like, where the Nevrons come from. I don't know, unless you've just not been paying attention like Steven, but like,
the
whatever.
more powerful she is, and she's already apparently more powerful than him if you listen to Clea. So, yeah, and then Clea barges in as well. She tries to basically assist Renoir.
Just the axons, right? Yes. I believe that Renoir created the axons. He created the axons based on the way that he thought about the family, like each of the family members. Yeah.
By creating Nevrons that trap the chroma. So they kill Aline's creations and she can't get back to the chroma. So she gets gradually weaker, basically. And Renoir can take over.
In the okay, wait, two questions.
I mean,
was there any significance to fucking Julie? I think I discovered one.
Yes. Oh my god, you moron. Of course there's significance to you. You know what? It's okay. He's a moron. Okay,
diary, and I read it, and it was like, oh, this is who Verso. I'm guessing is because
bro, what a dumbass.
One part is like there's one person I can bring back, and then you find some diary on the world map, I think, and the journal says
He's
like,
so
oh,
stupid.
he talks about Julie's grandson. Is this supposed to be anybody important, or is it just literally just like that was his?
How could you? Every single piece of lore in the game has. There's a reason it's there. Yes.
You see this girl like in the flashbacks in Act 1.
Okay.
Just at that point, you don't really know who that is. You see like Verso and her and her like expedition that she tries to kill him basically, and they fight, and then he kills her as well, and then they stare like with Alicia, his sister, at the monolith. So she was like basically his lover that realized he's immortal because he was like gravely wounded, and she saw him regenerate, and she then at that point.
You calling him a dumbass is super funny. I'm sorry, I'm just calling a spade for a spade, okay? He is a dumbass objectively.
Basically, utterly all trust in him, and thought that she already was suspicious because they were the only survivors, basically, right? Renoir,
yeah, gotcha.
From the Expedition Zero, and then she like becomes suspicious, and then she captures him, interrogates him, like it's kind of indicated that they like borderline maybe tortured him or some shit like that, and then he ends up killing all of them basically, and the letter is kind of like, I guess, indication of mostly not of Julie herself, but of like alienation that they feel, Painted family.
Sure.
because they are not part of this really world. They're like suffering greatly because they are basically imposter syndromes. So all the other people are just new people that they were created, right? They're not copies of real people. But they discovered, Claire tells them,
Isn't a fake gamer? No, he's a real gamer, but it's just that he lacks reading
in
comprehension.
the story, right? The real Claire, that they are basically just copies of real people.
Because I remember when I was in high school and middle school, like one of the most important things you had to learn, especially if you're in the more advanced classes, is like reading comprehension. The understanding of themes, the understanding of metaphors, the understanding of like foreshadowing and stuff like that. Like that's all super important.
And that they were created by
Yeah.
Aline as
Whatever.
substitutes of those people. And that like fucked big time with them and with Versa in particular, because he's like very
Doesn't he read all the time? Yeah, but then he's just terribly dismissive of everything, and then it makes him miss the point because he goes in with such a dismissive attitude about everything. I don't know, like he's not willing to look deeper, even though he has the ability to look deeper, and it's very clear that he has the ability to look deeper because he's a fan of Final Fantasy games. Like, how could you be a fan? Like, don't tell me you're a fan of Final Fantasy games just simply because of the grind, right, or the combat. That's ridiculous, right?
not really. He talks about it with like Monoko Eskia, people he trusts basically, that he can't really feel. Like if anything, his feeling is real or it's just a real verso. Like where's the difference between them, right? His own experience, and his memories are fake technically because they're not his, they're versos. No, I mean the real one, right? So same with like Alicia.
Do you think it was kind of weird that like that Simon character was kind of like stuck in as this was supposed to be Clea's painted boyfriend?
Yeah, he
he's,
was
like,
like
the
part
most-
of the expedition.
No, he was a human that was created by Aline, and he fell in love with painted Clea, okay? But then real Clea came in, posed as the painted Clea in order to trick Simon and ruin his life completely and utterly and destroy him, okay?
Okay, and he's like the most powerful like boss creature thing, but it feels like he's literally just stuck there. And then there's like a few sentences referencing him, but then nothing else is really brought up much of him. I don't think, right?
It seems
Oh
like
my-
real Claire juiced him the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like that's
Well, the reason why Simon is not going to be remembered is because he's a part of Expedition Zero, okay? That's the first... No one remembers jack shit from something almost 100 years ago. It's almost 100 years ago in that world. It's almost 100 years ago. I'm sorry. Yeah, like, of course, you're not going to remember the specific, like, people in the first expedition like that, right? Especially when, like, a lot of history is lost
Why
as well.
he's so
but yeah,
powerful.
Like
whatever.
a
Like, he was
romance
also
novel,
stuck-
vampire, rape monster, some bullshit for her to
Yeah.
I mean, real Claire used him, not the painted Claire. That girl was stuck painting Neverons as a slave because real Claire.
White Neverons, which are not aggressive, as her last piece of divines, which is super
painted her.
based.
But
Wait,
she
how
like
long is
manipulated
this?
basically him and
Okay,
empowered
she's,
the fuck
there
out of
for a
him
little bit
to do
longer,
her bidding
okay.
essentially. And then when he kind of realized that, it was already his like mind was messed up because she like painted over him so many times. So yeah.
Oh, do you think? I feel like there was no significance to the in the
Like, okay, do you guys notice something? Do you guys notice something? Every single time Destiny mentions something from the game that he's confused about, he says, why is there no significance? Well, hold on. If a lot of elements that you observe from the game seem to have no significance to you, but to me, it has the most significance, don't you think that maybe you're interpreting the story wrong? Right? Yeah, I don't know.
what is it? There's like a paint.
Oh,
there's
he
like-
killed the Axon.
Stupid.
I
Oh, he was
remember.
one of
He
the
killed
guys
the,
that got- yeah, one of them, yeah.
Like-
the old the clear one, by the way, which is interesting.
Bro.
Sure.
She hated the versions of her in this world so much that she's like, fucking kill that thing.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just just Claire.
On the-
Typical Claire behavior.
There's like a dimension that you have to go into and you bring I think like 3 canvas pieces to unlock like a boss, and then you kill the boss. Do you know what I'm talking about? And
the Lamp Master paint shop or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
was there any significance to that boss, or it felt like that was just like a filler? It was kind of weird. I thought there was going to be some kind of like very story relevant thing.
He misses the point constantly to fuck me. Dude, it's like he's not even played the game. It's like he's not even played. There's no way, right? It's like he's not even.
In terms of the
No,
boss,
it's
there, but it
just
was-
basically do that shit and get the perfect
chroma,
catalyst.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's some little dialogue with
The
Little
boy,
Verso.
yeah.
But that's like, he mostly just, when you talk with him, he mostly just shares a perspective of a child
Isn't he in the
Verso,
boat, too?
which Mael fans tend to use against people who pick Verso because they're like, look, Little Verso thought they were real. And you're like, no shit.
No, who cares about Little Verso? Okay, that's not a part of my argument, okay? That doesn't apply, okay? That is a stupid argument if you use that. There's plenty of counters to that one. But just so you know, okay, that's not a part of my argument, okay? Disavow.
Thought that they were super duper real. Ain't no way. It's just it's just kind of like funny in that sense. He did think so though. He says like I think they paintings or not, they have souls. I think he says. So he says like it's not right that Claire like tortures this painting because it still feels basically right. So it's it suffers, so it shouldn't be harmed. Which doesn't disapprove anything I think. But I also agree with that they shouldn't suffer. Yeah, problem is like with my ending, of course, is that how the fuck do we even know what is real, what is not? It's like this concept of like Sartre. Do you know the guy, philosopher, existential philosopher, French one?
Yeah, I use his Nazi quote a lot. Yeah.
Huh? Nazi quote?
He's the guy. He's the guy who has the quote of like, it's like, don't ever pretend that like anti-Semites argue in good faith, like they delight in bad faith or argumentation. Right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, yeah, he was like a Marxist lefty dude, so I'm just not that familiar with that sort of thing. I'm familiar with his.
Bro, are we just spending the entire stream today just like doing to the E33 and UkrainianAna? Okay. We need to move on after this,
Like,
okay?
Like philosophical stuff.
Sure.
Jesus.
Oh, sorry, I said Sartre. I messed up. Sorry, Baudrillard. It's another dude.
Oh,
Baudrillard.
okay. Never mind. The Simulacra
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Okay, just
yeah.
kidding. Okay.
Yeah, that guy. Hyperreality.
Yeah.
Mix the baguettes, okay? Sorry. Yeah, it's just that he's like talks about that a lot, like, and I think like there's a lot of interesting stuff in this game about that because, for example, Mael creates kind of basically hyperreality.
I mean, not that it's time wasted. It's not like I don't view it as time wasted. Just maybe because like for me at the very least, listen. It's nice to talk about something that's not like doomer politics for once. Okay, like for as much as I disagree with Steven, as much as I disagree with like a bunch of other people, like I don't like I could be wrong, and I'll be okay with being wrong. Why? And I'm not wrong, by the way. But I'll be okay with being wrong because people's IRL lives do not depend on it, right? I know, very meta. Very ooh wow, absolute cinema. But like it's just that like the real world sucks because like everyone's lives just is in the balance when it comes to policies and the Republican Party and the Ukrainian war, right? Like it's just like yeah.
So a reality
I
that
don't
is,
know.
and the canvas is, right? It's so real to people that it kind of like substitutes reality.
Yeah.
Like change, it becomes in the line in hyperreality of Baudrillard is in this, you can't distinguish anymore between the reality and hyperreality. So that's kind of like where they get lost, I guess you could say, in the sauce, because who wouldn't though? Like most people would lose the sense like of what is real and what is not. And that's actually an interesting question in this. I think in this game, should we prefer reality if reality success? Yeah, maybe should.
But dude, that's just the okay. No, that's another question entirely. Just by the way, that's an entirely different question. Okay, just FYI, that's an entirely different question. Okay, not applicable. Okay, but you know what? Still an interesting question.
Like,
okay?
I'm legitimately happy in this. She's not maimed.
Because we're talking about from the perspective of Mayel, right?
She has like
Yeah.
people who love her here. She has a family she found. She's like very confident and then completely different from like beaten up, shy shadow of a person we meet in real life that she is, right? With her like scars and like no eye and no voice and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's I think is interesting. My choice is reality, obviously, but that would be at least something instead of like
Well,
you do it.
Yeah, but then notice my disagreement with Anna isn't over whether or not the painted people are real or not, right? Like it's not over like because I noticed the disagreement I have with Steven is like just completely it's not the same as like a disagreement I would have with Anna, because my disagreement with Anna is how do you define reality? That would be my disagreement. My disagreement with Steven is that you lack basic reading comprehension. You are a retard, okay?
And the genocide, they're real, just as real people.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. Yeah, but I don't know. I just find it quite interesting. There's a lot of things that are very cool in it, and I also find it interesting that Verso by Baudrillard would be like basically like a simulacrum. Oh no, sorry, simulation, because he's like the copy of the thing that actually existed, or painted Renoir, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Lumiere people would be like super hyper reality because
Sure.
they're not a copies of an existing thing. So maybe that's kind of why they feel more secure with themselves, because when like for example CL and Luna learns about that they are painted and the world is painted, they don't have like this super duper big mental health crisis, because ultimately like what changes really?
Yeah, the
like,
comfort
for
that
them.
their intuitions are pointing towards is that they're part of the fake world and that fake world is real, but the
Yeah,
Verso's
yeah,
intuitions
so for
is
them
that
it's
something's
kinda
not
like-
right and he has to, yeah.
Yes, he constantly is in this like state of, I don't know if you read that thing, but it's actually Sartre this time around.
Okay.
It's called Nausea, the book he wrote about this. It's kind of similar to Verso actually in a sense. It's about this guy that Antoine, who starts to like feel that everything is not real and fake, and he like goes around the world basically feeling this nausea because nothing seems real, and he's like this nauseated by other people because he like projects his own view of the world on them, and he feels they're also are all like suffering and nothing is real, all of that, like basically losing sense of purpose. There's no sense in the living, all of that. And like this Verso kind of is that character because he knows it's fake and he knows it's he's a copy of another person, and he can't enjoy really anything here with that knowledge constantly being there. So whereas Lumiere people can, I guess, in a way. I mean, I have a cool conversation with Monoko about that, actually, because Monoko is like, am I like loyal to you unconditionally because that's who I am, or because I'm literally a dog? Like I'm a painting of a dog. Like I was painted that way by real Verso to be loyal, right, to him.
Yeah.
So is it my loyalty mine, or is it like painted by the painter to be that way? And that's kind of like the question, because he himself says, I don't want this painting to end. I actually want to chill with Noko. I kind of want to be his parent, basically, right? But he still helps Verso every time. So that kind of like begs the question: is it because he just super loves Verso, or is it because it's kind of like his paint?
I think another question that another philosophical question that you need to ask is: does it even matter? Does it even matter? Because regardless or not, like regardless of not, let's just say you found out the truth tomorrow, right? Or you found out the truth today that like it is in fact the truth that, oh yeah, the way that you've been painted is as a way to serve him. Well, I mean, if that's true, it's not like you'll stop serving him, right? Because you still find happiness in serving him. It's not like you are being forced to serve him against your will, right? You actually find it happy to do something like that, right? You find happiness in that. So it's like, yeah.
To be that way. Like that's just his purpose that he was imprinted with.
Oh, like
so
the one Asian
that's
girl in
kinda
Attack on Titan, that family. Did you ever watch Attack on Titan?
Yes, I did watch it. I also read it, unironically, the whole thing.
Yikes.
So yeah,
Wow.
Verso doesn't change.
Okay.
Verso's mission never changes in the game. He doesn't have a change of heart, right? He just lies sometimes. Like from the very beginning, when he finds Mayel, he's helping her, and his goal is from the very beginning is to help her get out, right? That's why he allows Gustav to die and everything.
Yeah, I mean, partially, there was a time when he wasn't so convinced, because at the beginning we find that journal with Julie, and he says, like, Maman will repay you back. So at that point,
but from when we see him in the game, like as soon as he meets the party,
yeah. It's been 100 years of this shit. Of course, like by that point, he's like exhausted all fucking opportunities to do anything. So also he obviously doesn't want to tell like anyone the truth, because his agenda is to remove the fucking Eileen from it, and that's his main objective at that point. So yeah, he pretty much just lies a ton, which is it is what it is. Yeah. And he just changes his mind, it seems, because Renoir tells him that his father painted one, says to him like, oh, you haven't been like active for a long time, like why the fuck are you trying to intervene now? And it's because Mayel is here now, so he thinks he can use her now to finally achieve his goal.
What?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of like the different thing. And I mean, it's kind of fun though that they all kind of do their own thing in their own way, because they're like very good copies of real people. I mean, the painted family, they're good portraits, I guess you could say, because Verso ends up being like kind of like similar. He prioritizes real Renoir's Desandre's, like Verso did, because he sacrificed his life for his sister, and it's kind of like ends up what Verso ends up doing as well. Like painted Renoir.
Listen, all I'm gonna say is that fuck Verso, and I wish that the last of him have burned up in that fire, and it's only a pity that another version of him lived on as a painted version that would only bring calamity and doom and horror upon everyone. Okay, he should have just died with the fire. Okay.
Also, kind of similar to real Renoir in the sense that he's just throwing everything to save his family. So, like he like kills expeditioners and painted people to help Eileen, just because he knows Eileen is the source of their life, and he tries to preserve his family and stop Verso from the suicidal mission he's on. And they're kind of like similar in a way to the original paintings, I guess.
He didn't do it. Okay.
Fucked up though that Eileen painted her daughter with scars.
Nice bait.
Like, I must
She fucking
say.
hates her,
Yeah, I mean, it's just that she was like, okay, so I'm gonna fix the fact that Verso is not dead here, but you're gonna be fucked up either
I like
way.
your
So
mom.
She also painted Verso as a
understandable.
fucking Chad, fucks all the women type kid as well. So maybe that says more about the
I
mom
mean,
than
he
anything
was
else.
probably that way in the real life. They like look the same. I don't know. But I agree with your first for Verso though, so I must admit, like DGG needs to hear this. Like I am fully on that. I was listening to your opinions about Expedition 33, and I was like, how does he think they're not sentient when they literally they have will and they act against Eileen, they act against other people in the story as well, and even like Nevrons have like some ability to break free. The white ones, they do, like act against Claire's will essentially. So they clearly have an ability to exert their will. But then you went on about like how actual hotties in the game are dudes, and I was like, yeah, that's based. That's a base take.
I think there's
I came to
it's probably
for Luna, by the way.
Oh.
Came for Luna's feet, stayed for Verso, okay?
True Verso.
Verso stunks up, dude. Anna is wrong. If she recognizes everyone in the painting to be real and sentient people, and she's still okay with killing all of them for the sake of returning back to so-called reality, then she's wrong. That means that she finds there is some intrinsic value that is worth like batting for and killing an entire world full of people for, right? And like in my opinion, then like she's just kind of like Leia. I'm not or Renoir. Sorry, like Anna is more like Renoir in that
to
sense.
Chad. I think it's
Yeah,
probably a universal human theme of like what is free will and how much free will do you need, and like I mean even the Bible
Yeah.
in Genesis gives us free will, and that's probably always a question of like how much free will do you actually have, and
Yeah.
how does that impact us at every stage of life. So yeah.
I think there's this very
I think Destiny's take is closer to Clea. Destiny's take is like Clea, where he doesn't view them as real people, but Anna's position on it is closer to Renoir, right?
limited, and that's a fair
Yeah.
take. We can see that it can be like literally rewritten by the painters. So that puts into question, I guess, how much we value that free will really. Like also how much you value death, like of these people when they can be just fucking repainted. Like Gustav's like whole sacrifice and the tragic death, and you let him.
Yeah, but that's not actually dumb, right? You're like they die over and over again, but then there is just simply like you are creating a new version of them, but that might as well be a identical twin. That's not the same person. Like when you repaint them, like the way I kind of view it is like it's kind of like Soma, right? It's like Soma where it's not you reawakening the you specifically. It's another version of you with the same memories, with the same brain, with the same body. It's not the same.
Go and you mourn him,
Like that consciousness has begun and has ended, right?
right? And then he's like right there. Like nothing happened in Mael's ending, and it feels uncomfortable. Like to me, as a person who saw quite a bit of death, right? It feels uncomfortable to me the idea that I could just ask someone to bring the person I love from my memory. Like,
Maybe, yeah, but I
it's
think
not-
it's only uncomfortable
Yeah.
because it's all self-serving. Like I think there's a world where you see these people brought back in a happy ending of the game or something. Like if Mael were to be able to leave, if Alicia like left, or Alicia left the canvas and they were happy, and then the people in the canvas were only happy, like, oh, that's cute or whatever. But to
Yeah,
see that
that
they're
would
all
be
brought
better,
back
yeah.
just to self-serve for Mael's,
it's
fantasy.
self-
But that's I agree with that, but that's the entire point of the game. The entire point of the game is that it's also meant to teach you that the Desandre family is a bunch of selfish motherfuckers. Everything that they have done in the entire game is to serve themselves and their own motives. They don't do it out of the consideration of other people. They don't do it out of the consideration of the people who live in the painting, even though they love citing them as excuses for it. But that's the entire point, is that they are using their own children. They are playing God when they shouldn't be playing God, right? They're bringing a lot of suffering when they play God. So yeah, it's like a bunch of selfish gods who don't deserve to be gods,
These
right?
girls,
Yeah.
yeah, weirder,
Yeah,
more
that's
puppeting.
what makes it so fucking awful, and that's why I didn't pick it. Not because I was like, I don't care, but
They're
because I
awful.
knew that the version she will recreate would not be the painting, the canvas.
Yeah, what's up?
Wait, how is Renoir selfish?